Today, we've got a full Saros review roundup. Is it as good as Returnal, or could it be even better? Plus, we're reacting to the latest Resident Evil trailer. Could this be the birth of a new franchise? And Assassin's Creed Hexe might be in trouble. So what's really going on behind the scenes? Stick around for all that and more. Welcome friends, it's good playing with you, your weekly gaming news roundup. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by my multiplayer maniac, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
We've got a packed show for you today. Before we dive in, we're only 84 subscribers away from our goal, so if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump into these headlines of the week. First up, Saros released today, and Lord, tell us what the critics are saying.
Let's get into it. Saros. Can you believe it's already released? Holy smokes. It feels like it was yesterday when we were watching this thing at like one of those big reveals. So time is just flying by. So Saros on PS5 is finally here and the reviews are rolling in. I've dug through the critics' takes to get a clear picture from combat and story to how it stacks up against Returnal. Here's a quick breakdown of what the reviewers are loving and where it falls short. The game is currently sitting at an 88 on Metacritic, and I went through, pulled, the positive, the mixed, and surprisingly, there was no negative review to pull from. So I was like,
dang.
Yeah, I know. I was like, all right, I guess we're just going to go with positive and medium. Game Informer gave it a 93. Moving, shooting, improving both in stats and skills, winning and even losing is an unequivocal joy in Saros. And I only wish I could write this sentence faster so I can hurry up and get back to planet Carcosa and attempt another run. High praise coming out of Game Informer. And I have a interesting tidbit about Game Informer once I'm done with this. GameSpot, they gave it a 90, which I was like, wow, okay, 93, 90. We're getting some good scores here. And they say it might not be a direct sequel, but decisions like this and others elsewhere address every issue I had with Returnal. Housemarque's previous game is fantastic in its own way, yet Saros elevates the studio's roguelite formula to another level. Its structure is surprisingly malleable, combat is deeper and more rewarding, and I couldn't resist being wrapped around the finger of its mysterious and foreboding narrative. Now, for the medium review, which is brought to you by IGN, and they gave it a 70. So
Ooh.
Saros, I know, 70. So their classic 70, like that's their like classic. So Saros tries at an interesting and ambitious story. It isn't always able to effectively tell, but Housemarque has once again proved that its bullet hell sensibilities mesh incredibly well with fluid and challenging action. So I wish I had a negative review to read off, but hey, those were, I was like, wow, we got couple in the 90s, one in the 70s. Like, so Dan, what? I mean, after hearing these reviews and kind of taking a peek at it on your own, are you gonna buy in? What do you think?
You know what? I am definitely curious about this one because I didn't play Returnal, and I know when it first came out, people went apeshit for it. And then they addressed some of the issues that they had with Returnal, like when the having to restart or not be able to finish. Like apparently runs were really long and you couldn't save in between them. And so I know that they worked a lot on Returnal to become a hit. I know it was a huge cult favorite, but still the rough edges had me a little concerned. This one is scoring even higher on Metacritic, coming at an 88 instead of an 86. Whoo, doggy, this is kind of, has me very curious because Sony needs a hit here. They don't have a lot on the calendar other than Wolverine, and this really does have a cult following, and to hear that they have even refined their bullet hell shooter even more, then yes, I think this game looks gorgeous. I need to see more. But these review scores, whoa, if a 70 from IGN, which, come on, they have no balls, so they give everything a 7.
Of course.
If that's as scathing as it gets, then this has got to be a pretty big banger. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, this is the funny part about that. I was talking about how I was listening to the Game Informer podcast. I know I'm cheating on our own podcast. No, I mean, I was listening to it, and I was like, and they did this whole review thing, and clearly one of the hosts, I think the gentleman who wrote the review was like, glowing over the game, and one of the guys clearly did not like it. Like
Yeah.
it, and he's using all the words to sort of like basically describe how he's not jiving with the game, and just like doing everything he can to not just say like he hates this thing. So that honestly, when I was hearing this like conflicting narrative, and I've heard a lot of, so a few things that I mean, since we didn't get any negative reviews, a couple of things that were noteworthy. I've heard it's too easy. Like it's much easier than and more accessible than Returnal. I know that is for a lot of people like a positive, because I thought
Yeah.
Returnal is hard. It's a hard game, but
Right.
also very rewarding. And then
Wait,
I've
but that was the same complaint you just levied on Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I was like, man, Death Stranding 1 is beautiful, but it's so hard to get into. Screw this game. I'm like 5 hours tripping. My package is going everywhere.
Oh yeah.
This is hell. And you're like, this is the greatest game that ever was made. And then Death Stranding 2 came out, and it's like much more accessible, and it gets right to the good stuff. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Kojima sold out. He's ruined the formula. So that guy is you.
You know what? It's true. That's why it spoke to me when I heard it. I don't know. There's something so strange to me. I do feel like it's a cop out, because it's like they're changing in a way what makes the previous game so incredible. Like, is it?
Or you were that hipster that's like, nah, this fun, the game's good, but their first album was better, you know? Like,
Eh, I could be that hipster for sure. I can't deny that. Okay, that's totally possible. But it's also like it's so weird to me, because I don't feel like Returnal was as impossible as like people make it out to be. And it just feels like, not every game needs to be for everybody. I
I
totally
agree.
understand. And yeah, it's just like that's the thing. And if it's a tough game, it's a tough game. But I feel like they kind of, I don't know if selling out's the only word that comes to mind when it's like they're just like,
Ooh,
we're gonna make
wow.
like we're gonna appeal to that broader audience by making it easier. And
You know what, though? You know what? This is
yeah, man,
you again talking about Marathon. You were dogging on that game
I
left and
was.
right. You got your hands on the sticks, and suddenly you like are trying to put it on our agenda to discuss every single week on this podcast. I'm like, look, I understand that you love it, but I don't care about the season wipe that's coming up, and I don't care about the raid and all that sort of stuff. But I know about it all because you love
Mhm.
it so much that you talk about it. And I bet you anything when you get Soros, you know what? You need to get the game,
You're right.
because I
Yeah.
guarantee you your reaction is going to be the same, and we're going to be hearing all about it.
It totally could. But let me tell you, the icing on the
Mhm.
cake that really kind of makes me hesitant is I hear the story is wonky, like not very good.
Yeah.
And to me, this linear, like not linear, well, these psychological games, and Returnal was very psychological. Like there was like a interesting story that you got piece by piece, which I think worked so well for that game. But I hear they tell it in a different way, and it just doesn't really work. And that makes me nervous. Like that really does. Like because these games, I
You are
think
into the lore. I
I
know
am
you
into the
love
lore.
lore. You're a lore hound, actually.
I'm the lore lord over here.
Yeah,
That
that is
is
exactly
me.
right. You
And
find the lore, and I'll play through a game, and I'll be like, "Yeah, oh, it was fun." And then you're like, "But did you read the sub wiki, Reddit, and all of this sort of stuff?" Like, no, what the fuck?
I
We're
know.
no.
Well, that's like honestly, that's half the fun. That's why marathon. that's that's why,
I knew that's where this was
that's
headed.
why marathon lore is so good, and I love that shit. And truthfully, yeah, I don't know. I'm like still on the fence. Like I hate to say it. Like I really hold.
You're
You
gonna
know me.
love this, dude. Just
I
get
know.
it.
I know.
This is
Well,
such a you
Returnal
game.
Returnal is held to me like high regard. Best PS5 game, I think. Like I can actually say that. Like best PS5 game goes Returnal. And you
Yes,
need to
that's
play it.
because Matt Lord falls in love with like maybe 4 games every couple of years, and I hear about them repeatedly. So yes, I'm aware of your affection
Yes.
for Eternal.
And it's Yeah, because like it just did some and what I also fear too is like they don't really change the formula that drastically, but yet they made it easier. So it's not like they're doing a humongous formula change. All they're doing is just like making baby's first returnal, which is like I
Oh.
know. And
Okay,
so
I will remind you of those words when you
okay,
pick it up and fall in love.
please do. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you buy it physically so I can borrow it.
Okay,
Please.
will do, will do.
Okay.
This isn't the
Awesome.
last we've heard of Soros because
No.
I'm dying for you to get your hands on it. So
Okay.
we're
And
gonna
if
have to
any
follow
friends
up
of the
on that.
pods out there are playing it currently, feel free to comment in on YouTube and
Yep,
let us know
let
what
me
you
know
think.
Ross is for sure.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Ross definitely has his hands on it.
Yeah. He's probably beaten it by now,
I
actually.
know. Dude's a legend.
It'll be awesome to hear what you think about the game when you finally get your hands on
I
it.
know, of
And
course.
to be honest with you, I have the same feeling about the new Resident Evil movie. So let's talk about that for a second.
Absolutely.
A brand new trailer for the next Resident Evil movie just dropped, giving us our first real look at the tone and direction of the reboot. The film is directed by Zach Cregger, who previously made Barbarian and Weapons, of course, both known for their horror first approach. As for the trailer itself, it opens on a remote farmhouse where a young man appears to be in distress. He tries to call for help, can't get through, ends up leaving a message for his girlfriend, and then like that VO goes across the rest of the trailer that we see. And then from there, the tone really shifts into like full blown horror, but it's the Resident Evil that kind of horror that we know and love with dim lighting and tight interior spaces and like a slow, intense build up to some chaos with brief glimpses of infected figures and something clearly going wrong inside not only the house but also the city. The trailer keeps things contained and focused, emphasizing atmosphere and suspense with a clear lean into survival horror. So, Lord, when you took a look at this a very different look of Resident Evil, what were your initial thoughts and are you hyped for the movie?
Well, I watched the trailer and I was freaking pleasantly surprised. This trailer was a banger. I thought it was great. I thought, listen, trailers anymore, they are hit or miss for me. Like usually I'll be like, why did I even watch that? But that actually like got me kind of revved up. Like I thought there was some interesting, strange stuff like arms and legs like going haywire out of a doorway, and there was like a dune looking barren creature in a sewer that was like hanging out. There was just a lot of like intriguing shots where I'm very curious how this individual gets into these situations. I think it's really cool. Like it seems like it's going I read a little bit, did a little deeper, and it seems like it could be like almost like a simplistic sort of plot where it's just showing this guy going from point A to B. Yeah.
Well, careful, careful though. There are
Oh,
spoiler. The script has already leaked and it is on the
oh, it
internet.
is.
So be very
Oh,
careful about what rumors you've heard because some of them are likely to be true. Yeah.
whoa. Okay. So I was gonna just compare it to like how I like the new Dread with the dude from The Boys, Carl Urban, which
Oh yeah.
was a great Dread, by the way. And it's a simple plot. It's just him going from the base floor of this huge tower to the top floor.
Oh yeah.
So,
Wait. And the
yeah.
bad girl was
Yes.
Cersei Lannister. She was
Yes.
awesome. That movie was good. That was a
Yeah,
fun
the movie's
movie.
great. And that is
A lot
what
of
I'm
Rooney.
hoping this kind of movie is just like going following a guy through like almost like a haunted house full of insane visuals. And I think that would be totally cool. I know it's not, people are saying, oh, but it's not Resident Evil. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, but I'm not too concerned about it. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. I mean, we'll probably get a proper Resident Evil like 15 years from now, and that'll be cool. They're trying something completely different. And if it's a good movie, and this guy knows, I mean, Weapons was a cool movie too. I liked Weapons a lot. So let's be honest, like we could have something cool on our hands. What did you think?
I gotta agree with you. I'm super pumped for it. I think I could go either way on this one. For me, his previous movies like weapons, had a great setup with the missing children. And then Barbarian had a great setup with these two people on the Airbnb. And for this one, it was like, okay, I don't see the setup. Like, where is the cool, like having trouble on the road? That's not, I watch every horror movie like 500 times. I love them all. For me, okay, it was like this trailer in comparison to the other two, not as good. But the action definitely looked there. It looked beautiful. It was really well shot. It was clearly shot in Prague. I had to look that up because some of the buildings, I was like, okay, that's not America. That's not even Canada. Like, I would accept Canada these days, but
that's a pretty good eye there, Dan. I didn't realize you were catching Prague buildings in the background. I didn't catch that at all, actually. So that's interesting.
It's honestly, it's one particular yellow building. When he jumps back and kind of recoils, you can see this building. And also when there's a part where he's running down the street and all the animals.
Yes.
Zombies are jumping. I was like, okay, that's not American architecture, and that's not Canadian architecture. And then Australian architecture, you can kind of tell from some of the bigger budget movies. But the yellow building, I was like, ooh, that's Europe, that's Prague. Like, that is for sure. I knew off the bat. But
why are they shooting there, though? Do you think that it's going to be set in Prague, or
no? It's set in the States for sure. I mean, just the 911 tone that they used in the thing.
True.
It's clearly States.
But why?
So I'm not worried.
Why would they do that?
It's just to save money. It's just too expensive in the States nowadays. But anyway,
I thought it was going to be some cool twist. Sorry, that was why I was kind of
it'd be.
Like, that's why I was like fucking drilling in on that for a second.
No, this is just me being a movie nerd and being like, this isn't realistic. I would be a little bit harsh on this, except for Resident Evil 7 is one of the best Resident Evils that they have. When it opened up in the middle of nowhere in that farmhouse in the South swamp area, it returned to just true horror. And then I was like, hell yes. So at first when I watched it, I was like, wait, where are the connections here? Where's all this sort of stuff? But then when I thought of Resident Evil 7, the best the series has ever been, like horror wise, don't freak out on me. I do think all of the other lore and Wesker and the whole stars thing, Umbrella, it all belongs there. But maybe we, like when I said with the video game Resident Evil 9, maybe we split these universes. One's horror, one's action, and the Umbrella thing can be the action like Mila Jovovich, and this I see is the relaunch of 7, and I was like, oh shit, so there is precedence for this in the games. This is going to be really good, and I think he can pull it off. I didn't see hardly any connective tissue though. When like the legs you're talking about, like, to be honest with you, looked more Silent Hill to me. And then I know everyone's trying to make the Baron connection with the fatty in the sewer system, but I just
didn't done on purpose for sure.
I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Really? Oh man, I was like, that had to have been like to rev up some Dune fans. I thought it just looked too much like it. That was my initial thought. No.
I just didn't see any connective tissue. And in fact, the most shocking part of that trailer was when it said Resident Evil. I was like, what? This really like what?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Sure. It's just I wasn't aware that we were all making this, and now I'm on board. It just took me a second to like reorient my expectations. That's all.
Yeah, and apparently the actor who is the kid and the main, he was in Weapons. He was in a couple other. I didn't recognize him, but people were like, "Oh, it's that guy." Like, love that guy. I'm like,
is this like a Kriegerverse sort of situation thing?
Maybe a Kriegerverse type of guy. Yeah. So maybe he's trying to make that happen. And I mean, let's be honest, as long as they don't do like humans are the evil in the universe.
I mean, come on.
I know. But like, dude, if they do, I'm going to freak. Like, I hate that trope.
I know.
Besides Bone Temple.
Oh, okay. No. Podcast over, friendship over, everything.
No, wait, you didn't like Bone Temple?
Oh my god, I wanted to gouge my own eyes out.
You didn't like the second one?
No. No, wait, I didn't see the second one because the first one was so bad. The first Bone.
Okay. 28 years. You should watch Bone Temple. Dude, Bone Temple was awesome.
Did it have violence in it? Was it gory?
Oh yeah. Okay. It was great. I really liked the second one. The second one was great.
But the first one, that somebody was doing all this kung foolishness. Is it kung foolishness? Because I can't handle kung foolishness. That just takes me out of reality.
I mean, they have those like people in the jumpsuits, but I thought it was still, dude.
Okay.
I don't know what it was,
Okay,
but
we're
the second one
digressing.
was.
I'll check it out. I
I know
promise we're
you should, and but that that trope is there, and as long as we have a plethora of zombies, which it looks like we sort of that's what we're going for, I'll be
Yeah.
happy, and we'll be good.
I agree. Here are my concerns, though, is like anytime
Yeah.
I watch a horror movie where it's one person, they've got plot armor and they can't be murdered because they're the
That's
only
fair.
person in it. And so I'm like, well, there goes my suspension of disbelief. The same thing with kids in horror movies. It's very, very rare. I could probably name just a few where they kill kids in these horror movies. And it's I feel the same way about this guy. It completely removes any sort of like suspense in my mind because I'm just like, well, he's a main guy. They got to let him live. That, and then I was like, clearly CGI's, all over the place. So I was
You
like,
know what
okay.
would be crazy if they did like a Place Beyond the Pines type of plot where we actually only saw like the first part of the movie where it's this guy and then he dies and then it switches completely to like a whole nother character.
Well, that was what Malding was saying. He's like, he's known for his twists. Like Malding was
Oh, yeah,
talking
yeah,
to me
yeah.
about this. Where he was saying the Zach Cregger guy is known for his twists. Like, you
Dude,
didn't know which was gonna be in Weapons. You didn't know it was the whole twist with the thing under the ground in Barbarian and stuff. Like he's like, you there's gonna be something that's not there. So he's like super into it. And I'm
oh,
like,
I
whoa,
could
whoa, whoa.
maybe that would be it. That would be actually really crazy if they did like you just saw like the first act, which it was this trailer was just this one guy, and then it's going to be like this whole other unfolding narrative. I would love that.
Hopefully.
I don't know if you've seen Place Beyond the Pines with.
Well, no, but spoiler alert, Jesus.
Well, I mean, it's not. It's an old ass movie.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper. It kind of switch it. It's really cool how they do it. I hope that'd be so fucking cool. I mean, it won't be that way, I'm sure, but
Okay, we got to go on, but yeah, we'll
I
have
know.
to see.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm ready to see it.
Well, yeah, now you've kind of got me all pumped for it too. That we've been talking about it, so we'll see where it goes.
We should go see it together. We should all get a good Playing With You crew out.
We totally should.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
All right. In the meantime, though, we need to talk about Assassin's Creed because that's something else I'm excited for. We all know Black Flag's coming up soon because we've talked about it and it's looking fan-freaking-tastic. In fact, side story on this one is that they were talking about, I guess there was a Reddit AMA yesterday and they were talking about like, here are the new things that are going to be new in this and here's what's returning. And so they talked about some of the games within the city. They talked about like the boats like that were like the legendary boats battles and stuff. They talked about some of the animals. They talked about like they've added a few little islands here, made some islands bigger. Like they were going into detail and I was like, man, I gotta quit reading this shit because I've already pre-ordered it, by the way.
What?
Yeah,
You're
well,
a madman.
Xbox had a $10 gift certificate and they gave you $5 off if you ordered deluxe edition or whatever. So I couldn't resist.
Nice.
And like, you know what? I think I like convinced myself on the podcast last week because I'm like, oh, there's nothing to play this summer. So in my mind, I was like, well, I better pre-order this one. So I already.
Great point. That was an absolutely great point, by the way. Like, yeah,
I convinced myself. So I will definitely be giving you the hands-on day one review of that one, even though I know it's going to be fantastic. Okay, so that was a complete side tangent. Sorry, because the real point here is we need to talk about Hexe because look, I think we all want Assassin's Creed to be great. We all grew up with Assassin's Creed. We've loved these games in the past when they were good, but they've kind of fallen on stale and hard times. And if the rumors are true, Hexe might be doing the same thing. Here's the problem, and this is what got me super hyped about it, is because this one sounded so different. I was like, oh man, they're finally going to do something cool and change up Hexe and change up Assassin's Creed with Hexe. Like this is a whole magic thing. And so let me just explain the two things I heard this week that make me wonder, is this game in trouble? Mm-hmm. Okay. So according to a recent reporting, game director Benoit Richter, who previously worked on Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Batman Arkham Origins, has left the project. So that tipped me off. I was like, uh-oh. And then it was getting attention because another major departure earlier this year happened back in February when creative director Clint Hawking, known for Far Cry 2 and Watch Dogs Legions, okay, I didn't really like Legions, and I didn't play Far Cry 2, he exited the project. So that means Hexe lost both its creative director and its game director within just a few months at the beginning of this year. Separately, there was also reports of a design shift. Early expectations expected Hexe to lean into that darker witchcraft-inspired elements, fitting its setting around 17th century Europe witch trials. However, a recent leak claims that the project has scaled back and removed many of the overt magical features. For example, one report was that a mechanic would have allowed players to control a cat, similar to the way earlier Assassin's Creed games let players control animals like eagles. And according to that leak, the feature has now been cut along with other elements described as quote unquote magical. Ubisoft has not officially confirmed any of these changes, and details on Hex have been limited overall. The game was first announced in 2022 and does not have a release date, although reports suggest it might not arrive until 2027. So, look, just a couple of tidbits, but since we're fans of the series, wanted to kind of throw them out there. Sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. Is this game in trouble, Lord? What do you think?
I mean, mega exits like that never sound good to me, so that makes me extremely concerned. Why is Ubisoft so anti-magic? Like, what's the
Right?
problem? I think that sounded actually really cool, and I'm not, call me out. I'm over here being a bad gamer. I'm not very familiar with Hex's game, so I honestly didn't know a whole bunch about like what the I didn't know what the details were. I didn't realize that's what they were going for. That sounds actually awesome because I will have to say one of my favorite Assassin's Creeds is Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and
Yeah, that was
so
great.
that that was a great one. And going to London and maybe having something like that old timey um, type setup, yeah, over there. I think that sounds actually really good to me. So I don't know. I wonder if this is getting the axe, which I would be just because this would be like the next actual sequel, right? Besides,
Yeah, the
Black
next big
Flag, this
one.
would be like. So I'm hoping it. I don't know. It sounds like if they're removing all that, it's going to lose some of its luster to me, and I won't be quite as hyped. But I don't know. We'll see if it makes its release anyway. What do you think?
Well, my thoughts are A, no way it makes its release. It's going to be delayed
Okay.
with these changes. B, I think that the rumors were true. I think they were trying to do magic and cool shit, but then I think the higher ups at Ubisoft, who have really just wanted to destroy this company, looked at it and said, "Hey, that's new, too different for us. Let's play it safe." The two heads were just like, "Look, we don't want to play it safe. We've built this really cool magic kind of type shit." And then they were
Oh,
like, "We're out if you're going to force us." And they said, "We're going to force you." So then they left, and they have made this pivot to just the old school like Assassin's Creed that we're all totally sick of. And here's the bad thing though, is when I think about this and what this could have been, had they done something wild and fun and different with the Assassin's Creed series, it really worked for Harry Potter, like all those wands and spells and all the magic and that sort of stuff. It was the best selling game of what was last year or the year before last when it came out. And this needs a franchise shakeup. It is so stale, and this could have been it. And my guess is that, man, this sucks.
uh, that's funny that you mentioned Harry Potter because that was the first thing that I'm like, dang, they're gonna go a little Harry Potter route. That's
Right?
sweet and smart because it like to me that was that really hasn't been a trend that has been like fully milked. Let's say it. It hasn't been fully milked yet, fam.
Yeah.
I just think magic really like has not been done as very thoroughly or very well, and so if they could have done that, I think this would have been a perfect jumping off point for a whole new sort of setting and atmosphere for Assassin's Creed that would have been like, oh, I want to see what that's about. I would have jumped in because I don't know if I'm quite jumping in on a Black Flag quite yet, Dan. We'll let you jump in on that first. And then,
Yeah.
dang, that's too bad. Well, and you bring up, let's just be honest, you bring up super good points about that's exactly what went down at Ubisoft. The higher ups were like, dude, you got to change this game. And they're like, no. And then they pieced out. I mean,
Yeah.
tale as old as time out there.
For sure. And it's a bummer thinking about what could have been. And it's also a bummer knowing that they are so resistant to change that this, archaic mindset that they have at the higher ups of Ubisoft might affect not only this game, but games in the future.
Yep.
And it makes it hard to get excited for things. So I mean, but then here I am all excited for Black Flag, and it's the same shit over and over. But it was a really good one, so I have a reason to be. So I don't mean to be hypocritical, but it would I want to see the game kind of survive and pivot to the future and modernize itself, and just doesn't seem to be doing that.
I mean, Assassin's Creed deserves it. It's a legendary franchise. Let's be honest, and
Agreed.
it doesn't deserve to just be like dead.
Agreed.
So,
all right. So speaking of modernizing a classic, you were all pumped about the Steam controller that was released this week, or was it released, or was it just the preview?
The preview, it does release May 4th, so it's coming up.
Well, tell me all about it, because this one looks a little different and it has me curious.
Yeah, so no, it's got me very intrigued. Out of nowhere, Valve was just like, "Here's all this information about the Steam controller, and let's hear a little bit about it." So the new Steam controller is getting a mix of praise and frustration, and honestly, both sides make sense. On the positive side, the thing is incredibly customizable. Steam input allows you to tweak controls however you want, and features like trackpads and gyro aiming actually bring mouse-like precision to a couch setup. That's really cool. Battery life is strong and the build feels solid, and for Steam users, it's one of the most flexible controllers out there. But it's not perfect. There's a learning curve on it. Those trackpads and extra inputs take time to master, and not everyone will love the feel. Some players will still prefer traditional thumbsticks, especially for fast-paced games. And then there's the big issue. Now, this is where I'm a little hung up and a little conflicted on compatibility. Outside of Steam, things get messy. Games on Game Pass or other launchers may not recognize it properly, sometimes treating it like a mouse instead of a controller. That limitation alone is a deal breaker for a lot of players.
Yeah.
So the verdict, if you live inside Steam, it's a powerful and unique controller, but if you jump between platforms, it might feel more restrictive than revolutionary. So, Dan, are you going to be first in line to pick up the Steam controller May 4th? What do you think about that?
Hell no, because I just don't love the price of $100.
Yes.
But here's why I was eager for you to actually talk about this story and why I think it's interesting. It's because this is going to be a harbinger of, I think, of the future. It is the bellwether for potential controllers. We haven't had significant changes like this in such a long time. And here's someone doing, I mean, yes, we've done like the adaptive triggers and all of that sort of humble, but it's, and then we've got the PlayStation map button. Literally, that's all it's used for, is a map. So it's not like they haven't tried, but where I think this is really potentially going to be used is if it gets into the Xbox controller, because we all know that Xbox is trying to put a PC into their next Xbox. Will they adopt this same trackpad sort of thing? Because here's the beauty of this system. I can't tell you the number of times I've tried to play Steam games and they don't have controller support, or it's not very accurate. In fact, there are certain types of games that I like to play only on mouse and keyboard for that sort of reason. And then there are some that I like to use on controller. And this really marries the two. I think, look, enough people probably have Steam buy-in that they might start to use this sort of controller, especially if Steam gets behind it and starts promoting it in its store. That would be a huge help. But I think the real change would be if Microsoft does it. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Microsoft fanboy. I am saying that though because the Microsoft controller is the number one controller across PC and console, and is widely regarded as one of the best. And I think if they see that this works, and I think that's the big question here though, is do those touch pads work? Are they accurate enough to replicate this mouse and keyboard kind of experience, or are they kind of a gimmick? Time will tell. If it's real, I see some change happening here. What do you think?
Great points. And let's just be honest, I've had plenty of time with these trackpads. Are the exact trackpads that are on the Steam Deck, and the trackpads are awesome. When you go into the desktop mode in there, that's how I navigate the mouse. That's how I navigate all the stuff. It works for the trackpads work for a majority of the games. Super precise. Some people even use that. I mean, I still am such an analog boy, but a lot of people use them over analog sticks. And I definitely think if Xbox would be smart to adopt something like this, because if they're going for that PC console hybrid, you
Mm-hmm.
basically have to have some sort of mouse situation. And God knows the Switch 2 mouse that they tried to make fetch happen, it freaking failed. So I think that, it's got to be something along these lines. And I'm excited for it. I was a little bit concerned about the compatibility aspect. I love Steam. That's where majority of my games are, but I do play other games. Like I have games on other launchers. And for me, I don't know if I can get a controller just for the PC when you said it best, like the Xbox controller's laying right over there. If I need a controller, I'm gonna pick that up, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna use in the meantime. And I don't know, $100 is pretty expensive. People were flipping their shit over 30 or $100, but
I know.
to be honest, this day and age, like that's I felt like that was expected. I thought it was going to be $100, and
And
yeah,
if Xbox does it, this is the way they're going to do it. I've just figured it out. What they're
yeah,
going to do is they're going to stick with the tried and true classic because they've got a market leader. It's going to be the exact same thing. And one of the things that people are complaining about this, besides the price, is just the heft and how big it is. So my thing is, if Microsoft adopts this sort of technology, the way they do it is they create their same controller, and then it's going to have like a double trackpad, like pop-in module that goes into the bottom
yes,
of these things. So I
module.
could 100% see how they're already going to do this if they go there.
That's
But
that
then,
would be smart.
yeah, and then you still sell your controller for $60, and then
Yep.
you have this pop-on thing that's like $30 or $40. So yeah, it's probably $100 for Microsoft too. So we can't complain about the price, but at least we have options there, I guess, and it's not as bulky. I don't know.
Wow. And these companies love a good accessory, so I
You
can
know it,
definitely see that being a
right?
thing. Yeah, and then maybe they even have like an offshoot, which is the controller all in one. But if you
Yep.
don't, you want to stick with your normal controller, you get the little dongle. I like the trackpads a lot. Like I said, if for whatever reason you find yourself like, I think a lot of people are going to find themselves on some sort of desktop while they're sitting on their couch, that this is going to be the only way to play the Steam Machine. When the Steam Machine comes out, this thing is going to be selling like crazy if it isn't already on May 4th. We'll see. I might go crazy and have a spaz out and buy it on an impulse, but and if I do, I'll definitely report back.
Please do, but why would you be buying? Is there a gaming you have in mind? Because you could be picking up with Saros and not being
Eh,
paying as much.
You know, you never can question what my impulses
Yeah,
might do on day to day. My
that is so
impulsivity is,
true, and that's why, like, teaser alert, we're going to be talking about Crimson Desert towards the end of this
oh
game. Because
yes,
look, Matt Lord can't be tamed, and that is
no,
one of the
I
good parts.
certainly
So
cannot be. No, I'm a wild card when it comes to my gaming and adventures. So
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, I would no, you're right. I think honestly, like I think also for me, I have the Steam Deck, and so I know what the trackpads are about. I don't know if I have to get my hands on this. Like I kind
yeah.
of know what the deal is already. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yep, we'll see how it happens, what happens, and we'll see how it sells. But speaking of sales, well, actually, before we get to that, I got two little rumors that I want to get your take
Let's
on.
hear it.
Super fast. Basically, Take Two CEO Strauss Zelnick addressed pricing rumors on GTA 6, but he stopped short of giving a number. Instead, he emphasized that pricing will be based on value, saying the goal is to charge, quote, way less than the value delivered, end quote, and that players need to feel the price is fair for what they're getting. So, and then he also pointed out that historically game prices haven't really kept up with inflation, and most major releases are still sitting at $60 to $70. So that was confusing. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's like, "Oh, we want them to feel value," but also games haven't risen in prices for years. So I'm like, "What is it, buddy?"
Well,
He's obviously gonna, he wants his cake and to eat it too. But that was not I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to mention, but that wasn't the only thing. He also spoke about expectations for the game, calling it an attempt to create the most spectacular piece of entertainment on earth. And I can't help but talk about GTA, especially when he's throwing out quotes like this. But not only GTA, he said, he briefly addressed the possibility of a return of LA Noire, saying that there's nothing to announce yet, but the Take-Two has always evaluating legacy IP, and it could revisit it if the right team is interested. So, what are your thoughts on these quotes? Do they mean anything, or are we just fishing for any
I
detail
mean,
we can get, or both?
could we be buckling up for a subscription service GTA 6?
Oh shit! I didn't think about that.
Like,
No,
to
that would never
me,
work. No way.
I mean, I hope not. But I also could see that being like the revolutionary price point that he's kind of alluding towards.
Oh
And I
man.
could see that being a thing potentially.
No, I mean I could, because everything is awful and the shitification of the world and gaming continues. But
Yes.
I
Tell
think
me why that wouldn't work, please.
I think like you would have like people picketing in the streets. You would have
Yeah.
literal riots outside their door. I think, look, subscriptions are
Yeah.
going to be there, but they're going to be optional. I fully expect a GTA Plus or whatever it is that they're currently doing to continue, but like a mandatory one, hell no. People would flip out.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's say that doesn't happen then. I think he's definitely I think it's gonna be $100 game.
Yeah, I could
I
see
think it'll
that
be
for sure.
$100 out the door and you'll get it. But I don't know. I don't nothing from that, that quote screams that it's gonna be cheaper than $70 or $80, whatever. It's gonna be more expensive.
And what are your
But
thoughts on LA Noire part of it? Any
I
interest?
mean, yeah, I would love hey, if they go back to LA Noir, that'd be awesome. I think that whole system hasn't been fully explored yet, and I thought that game was fun AF. So if we can get it back in our hands, that'll be sweet. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
I think, you know what, a lot of people say that about the game, but I'm like, I don't know that it aged very well. If they did something more fun with the game, because like some of those interviews were painful. I ended up looking everything up online because I couldn't really tell their facial tics, which were amazing at the time. But it's like, look, I just ended up cheating the whole time because it was so annoying.
That's hilarious.
So it's like, look, Mr. Zelnick, if you're interested in mining the IP, let's talk about Bully. Where's Bully? Like, why has no one
Yeah.
mentioned Bully? That's the clear underdog that should be mined here. So, yeah, I play more LA Noire, but it's not the one I'm
I
asking
hate to
for
say it,
sure.
but bully, now that I'm thinking about it, bully is just such a taboo word anymore.
It
It's like you can't
is.
be bully. You can't be a bully anymore. Like,
Well, I know I try and it just
I
doesn't work
know, it
well.
just doesn't work. And well, there would be some like blowback probably if they brought that back. It's just like you can't have
The word, yeah.
schoolyard shenanigans anymore. And
The
yeah,
word's definitely been stigmatized, but there's got to
it
be a
has.
way to like rename it and then,
I would think.
something.
I think it would
The
be.
formula was so good.
It was cool. It was really, really cool. I would trust me. I would rather have a bully than an LA Noir any day of the week because yeah, I don't know LA Noir. It might be cool on like very new gen graphics. Like I think that's maybe also where that weird system might have gotten hung up. Was it just the technology wasn't quite there? I don't know, but I'm not looking forward to $100 GTA. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
Well, worst case scenario is they're like, oh, we're gonna sell GTA for like, $70, and we're gonna sell GTA Online for like $50 or something like that, and you buy them both together and you get it like
Oh,
120. So it's a deal. That's what they're gonna.
dude,
I don't know. It's gonna be some shit show like that for sure.
I could 100% see that. You're right. Maybe it just won't be packaged. And some
Yeah,
people will
it
get the
won't
single,
be.
some people will be multiplayer, and
Yeah,
that's going to be it. Maybe it'll be completely separate.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be a shit show,
That'll
but
be
curious to see. All right, before we move on and talk about the games that we're playing currently, let's talk
Yeah.
real quick. You had an update about Xbox sales, because I know last week we talked about
Yeah.
how Starfield was a little bit of a disappointment, but then you unearthed more information that I found very curious.
Yeah. So here's some estimates for the top selling Xbox games on PS5, and it raises some questions about the multi platform strategy. And this little bit comes from Kotaku's Ethan Gatch. Getting clear sales data from gaming is notoriously difficult, but new report from Alinea Analytics gives us a rare look at how Microsoft's former Xbox exclusives are performing on PS5. So here are the top 13 performers among games ported in the last 2 years. Now, at the top, we got Forza Horizon 5 at 5.8 million copies, which
Nice.
is that's pretty freaking good.
That's great. Yeah, it's really great.
I'm gonna kind of bop around at the ones
Yeah.
that are like more like wow. Gears of War Reloaded, that was at 684,000.
And you would expect more from like a franchise like that that has never been on PlayStation. So ouch there.
Yeah. And Starfield 207,000.
Yeah.
Flight
Ooh.
Simulator, which is another banger, 252K. Oblivion
Yeesh.
Remastered only sold a little over 1 million. So let me get back to so financially, the report estimates around 667 million in gross revenue, but after Sony's platform cut, Microsoft may be walking away with under 500 million. That raises a big question: is going multi-platform really paying off?
That is what we said last
Yes,
week when
and
we
that's
saw the Starfield
exactly,
numbers.
and that's why I wanted to, yeah, because we talked about the Starfield numbers, but I think this paints a clear picture that
It's
these
bigger.
games aren't, yeah, that like the Xbox games are not selling. And I know everyone's gonna say these are old games. These are, yeah, but these are humongous franchises that have never been on PlayStation. People aren't buying it. Like, that is insane. The Gears of War one is crazy. I don't know. What is your take on this whole thing?
I don't know. I can't figure it out either. And it also makes you wonder, like, hey, how much of this? Because the waters get muddied by Game Pass, and you've got to wonder, like, how many of these games are selling on Xbox itself, and are their franchises tired? Look, I love Gears of War probably more than most people, but even I can say after 5 of them, I'm not really pumped
Mhm.
for E-Day. Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna play it, but it's like it's stale AF. Halo, oh fuck, man. They need to take that away from 343 because not only is that stale, it's been fucked over
Yes,
like 10 times. I
that
mean,
game,
yeah, so it's like
Infinite.
they need to clean up their franchises. So I can't tell if it's just stale or if it just doesn't appeal to people anymore, or if it's just like, look, you're serving your core audience, which is your Xbox people, and PlayStation don't care. But if people PlayStation don't care, you gotta make them care. That's your job as a software publisher.
Totally. Totally. And I mean, man, I cannot believe Gears of War did that.
Oof.
And it's just, but Forza did. I mean, who would have guessed Forza was such a freaking sought after
Juggernaut,
franchise?
man. Yeah, that's
Dude,
crazy.
I had no idea. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I think it would be very smart for them to pull back on this if they want to keep it rolling, because that does not look good. And the Starfield release, I mean, yeah, like we said, we talked about it last week. Dude, in the thousands, this is a humongous
Yeah.
franchise. New
Ridiculous.
franchise too, not
Well, I
selling.
truly think that
Or
Microsoft
new,
and
yeah.
Bethesda are so up their own butts. They don't realize that Starfield wasn't well received. I think maybe they think it was well received and they
Yeah.
don't understand the criticism that's happening, especially with the Free Lanes update that just came out. And they're like, yeah, boom, we fixed it, bitches. I jump back in. I'm like, no, 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 you
No.
didn't. We still have problems with this game. So I pieced out of that one after like an hour. So I clearly don't think that
Yeah.
they know what fans want on
No.
this. I think ultimately where it's going to end up, the easy play here is, and one they're going to take is they're going to be like, next generation, look, our games are exclusive again. Oh, by the way, Call of Duty and Forza are no longer going to be exclusive. They're going to
Yeah.
carve some of things out because they just want money so badly. And I think that the rest will return, and that's where it's going to go in the future.
Great calls. But yeah, had to talk about that one for a split sec. So
I agree because
thank you.
the problem is bigger than we thought last week. So I appreciate you
Yes,
bringing that
for
up. That was
sure.
very interesting. Okay. Also interesting though is you finally jumped into Crimson Desert, and I'm dying to hear about that.
I did. And I took a little, got a little photo mode going on back there.
Nice.
And
What are you playing it on? PC?
I got it on the PS5.
Oh,
Got a
PS5.
physical copy. I got a physical. I went to Best Buy. I was like, it was like late night. I was like, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go check if they have one. And they're like, yeah, we got one. I'm like, impulse buy, baby, let's go. And so I've been playing it late night. And Dan, I'm loving this game. This is awesome. Dan, what the hell? I honestly like, I mean, I expected the combat to be like really bad. I thought the controls were going to be like impossible or for something, because you're right. I mean, it's a little holding the L1 for a lot of the different things, especially when you're trying to be precise. I don't really mind that. I think it's kind of like a nice little, like, it's a change because there's so much that you can do in the world that you have to like hold a button to get your guy to do what you want him to
Sure,
do.
sure.
So I mean, I'm still, let's be honest, I'm still in like the first castle. I'm probably like 5 or 6 hours in, and there's so much to do doing the early missions. And I'm honestly, and I just like, I really like the graphics. I'm really like, not to me, I thought that was going to be what kept you going, Dan, because like those graphics, absolutely chef's kiss. It looks insane.
Well, I told you I played on launch day and they were blurry. There was no color. I fiddled with my HDR and my hertz settings and I never do that. I'm a
Yeah,
console player. I shouldn't have to
yeah.
do that. I was doing that left and right trying to get it to work. I finally turned my HDR off and somehow got more color out of the game than when I had HDR on. Made no sense. And so I was already frustrated on that. And then I went into the control systems and they were slow, sluggish. I didn't think any of the cutscenes made any sense whatsoever. There was a severe lack of polish happening there. I could sense there was a big world to explore, but I had to
Yes,
nope out of it because I was so frustrated. And I like you're getting a chance to play a more polished version because they
I am.
did, change the controls and
Yep.
they fixed it. And you're playing on PlayStation. I was playing on Xbox, which they eventually put a patch out on Xbox. So
Huh.
I am curious to jump back in, but I'm still hesitant because their control scheme is ridiculous.
I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot to do, like especially with like the hitting like R3 to do like a punch, and then you have to hit like square and circle to do like the lifts and stuff. You're like, this is kind of wild. There's a lot to remember, but at the same time, I think it's done pretty well. Like you can definitely tell this is a game that started on PC and then went to the consoles. Like because
Yeah.
there's just like there's not enough buttons on the freaking controller to do all this stuff. But I gotta say, it's ambitious as hell, and I
Yeah.
gotta give it to him. Like it gives me it does give me that Breath of the Wild feel that I feel like has been missing on these major next gen platforms. I shouldn't have to
Mm.
go to the Switch to do a humongous open world exploration game where I actually am like enthralled with the world. I feel like I get that from here, and Dan, it looks incredible. I mean, maybe you need to switch it up, check it out on the PlayStation because I'm uh I'm getting something out of it, and I think I'm gonna keep putting some hours into it because it looks so good and
Good for you,
loving the
brother. I
exploration.
can't wait to check it out again, but I'm not going to pick it up until there's a sale. So maybe this Christmas I'll get it for $40 or something like that. I definitely
Great point.
will check it out again, and I'm happy for them. I'm cheering them on. In fact, every time I read about their patch notes, and I read every single patch note because I want to know when it's time to get in, it makes me happy. And I just read this week that like they sold over 5 million copies, so good on them. I think the president of Korea was saying like, was tweeting about their game and how great it was and like it's a national treasure because they're so excited that it's a Korean made game and he's very proud of that. And then the company, because they sold 5 million copies, gave all of their
I
developers like
know.
a $3,400 bonus
How
because
nice is that?
yeah, no, so all around good story. Like all around, I just wish I liked the game.
Yeah. But at the same time, let's be honest, like if you didn't like the Red Dead 2 controls, like this would be your nightmare game.
Thank you.
Like
Yes, and
yeah.
I
No,
felt Red Dead all over again, and I was like, oh
totally.
god.
No, I like there was one part where I was like picking up like what felt like individual coins off the ground, and I'm like, this would have driven Dan insane.
For
Like
sure, I would have punched something. I don't care.
so, but no, I
Fuck
honestly
coins.
am. Yeah, I was like, "Fuck, this is gonna take forever." Okay, but I gotta say the combat is so like it does give me like old Assassin's Creed like fighting mechanics too, where it's just like you're doing crazy combos, you're hitting your like specials, and I don't know. I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely report back when I have some more time into it, but I wanted to just throw that out to Dan.
No, I appreciate it. I love a good update, and I more than respect someone who has a different opinion because I
Oh
want
yeah.
to, and I know that my issues with the game are mine. I'm not saying it's a bad
Yeah.
game by any means. I'm just saying the controls and sluggish nature of that. Like I said, Red Dead, wasn't a huge fan because of the controls and people
Yep.
lost their shit. So I
They
totally
did.
understand. Not a huge deal. But yeah, keep me posted because I'm curious
will.
because I've also heard people say like the story's a weak point, but it doesn't matter because it provides such a great sandbox to play in that some people I know Malding was saying, "Oh, I've already put 5 days into it in the real world." So he's got like 125 hours or something like that. So
Yeah.
some people are digging it, and keep me posted for sure.
I will.
All right, well, that wraps up all the video game news stories we've got for you this week. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And on behalf of my buddy Matt Lord and myself, Dan Whitehill, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.